Why was because he was polling rabbis to find out what they said Judaism was. And every single rabbi said something different. And so I said something different as well, which is kind of interesting. Like, that sounds quite pluralistic, considering I think every rabbi he asked was of the Torah observant types, meaning they were all what secular or conservative or Reform Jews call Orthodox. We don't use that term, by the way. Never call yourself Orthodox. Like, that was a term that we were labeled with by guilty feeling Jews who like kind of dropped everything. And so what happened, they felt bad about their own observance or lack of observance. And so what's the simple way out of the guilt? Call those who actually still keep Torah Orthodox, which is the word strict. The word Orthodox means strict. So call them strict. Now, do I seem like a strict person too? Some people are laughing because they know me a bit. I'm like the least strict person you'll ever meet. I mean, the strict is not really our theme around here. Hey, you know, we got some seats right here. How many are you? 3? 5, no problem. Gentlemen, would you be so kind as to bring in a couple more chairs, please? Or maybe slide in one. How you doing, ladies? We interrupt this class for 5 ladies. Walking in the classroom right now. Can I get one of you dudes to sit in this seat? And then slide over one so the ladies can sit together. Maybe slide. Oh yeah, you got an extra chair. Oh, amazing. They're just opening up everywhere. Should I start the video again?
One more time for good measure.
This video is off to a lousy start. Anyway, you know what? I'll just keep ranting about the word Orthodox for a while.
You can edit it later and put in the look from Monty Python where it goes flashing the lights. Yeah.
Anyway, so guys, we're gonna knock the word Orthodox out of our vocabulary from now on. Okay, no more Orthodox. Orthodox was a label given to Jews who actually keep the Torah. Yeah, it shouldn't be a term, you know. Like if you met someone who kept traffic laws on the car, you know, driving, you know, I wouldn't call him an Orthodox driver, you know. You know, someone who like keeps the bylaws of the company he works for, we don't call him Orthodox. You know, he's an Orthodox member of Apple.
Are there any?
Can we close the door, please? So you understand, like the word Orthodox is like just the most ridiculous term, and it's also the whole fact that the word Orthodox means strict. Is I do know strict Jews, you know, I know people like that, but it's a personality type. It has nothing to do with their Judaism, meaning they're already OCD, and just kidding, they're already strict types of people who are keeping the same exact laws as I am. But the difference between us is they're like kind of strict personalities, and I'm like a really chill personality. But like neither of us would do something against the Torah. If you put a gun to our head, we're going to both be strict if you tried to get us to stop keeping Torah. But it's a personality thing. So the word Orthodox just means, it's just another term for lame-o, okay? And nerd, you know, he's Orthodox. You know, in our family, we actually have a term if like someone buys a lame pair of shoes. Like one of my daughters comes home in shoes that just look lame, so we say, those shoes are ortho. Ortho. It's actually become an adjective in our entire extended family that anything that's super lame is called ortho. You never heard that before? Is that totally ours? Because I was starting to question it after a while. It was so well used that I thought maybe it came from someone else. Anyway, so we have no pride at all in being Orthodox Jews, and we never use that term. So just wipe it out of your vocabulary. If you'd like another term, try the word observant. You know, observant would be probably the most appropriate. That they actually observe the Torah's traditions. They observe the tribal heritage of Israel. And again, it was a label that was given to the Jews who actually held on to Judaism. Oh, we got a seat right here. You know, I'm standing in front of 2 seats. I didn't even see them. Oh, there's some spots over here. Yeah, peel off one of those. I'm going to make a bracha. I think this is my most interrupted class I've ever had. But I love it because it's a drop-in course. And the people who've come in late have fulfilled the drop-in aspect. more than anyone else. In fact, her parachute's in a tree outside. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol nivra. And just one other term that you're going to be a little shocked. Like, okay, I bet all of you agree with me that Orthodox should just be completely wiped out of our lexicon. But there's, unless you're talking about Greeks, but there is another term that I strongly suggest you get rid of as well. And this is not going to be very politically correct, so I apologize in advance. And no one should, please, no one should think I'm here to offend anybody. And if I offended you, too bad. Just kidding. No, if I offended you, I apologize. But the other word's religious. Okay. Judaism is like, it's not religious. It's not meant to be religious. It's not, and it also, there's something called religion, which automatically legitimizes all of them. Because the second you say that Judaism's a religion, or maybe you're talking about the other religions, like there's Judaism's as a religion, and there's the other religions. Second you use that word religion, you're already putting Judaism on you're putting all other religion. I just said it. You put not a religion, you put religions on the same bedrock, the same footing as Judaism. Judaism, which is a provable national revelation. Judaism, which you cannot, it's incontrovertible that the Torah is actually a divine document. No one else can claim any of that stuff. You know what the difference between a religion and a cult is? Not much. Okay, the difference between a religion and a cult is the number of people. It's just the number of people. That's it. That's the difference between a religion and a cult. Just how many people are keeping it. The word religion is used as a legitimizing term to make people who are stuck in an oversized cult feel better about themselves. Okay, what is a religion and a cult? It's the same exact thing. It's just people believing in crazy stuff. But if you got enough of them, it seems to legitimize itself just by sheer numbers. But we're Jews here, okay? And we don't, numbers makes us nervous, not makes us more confident. You know, we're like the ultimate skeptics. You know, Jews are so skeptical about everything, and numbers is one of those things. So if you got enough anyone's believing in something, that's a red flag for a Jew. You know, that a lot of people believe in something is automatically a red flag, like the Gesundheit. Like we smell a skunk when people are like, well, everyone believes in this. You know, oh great. You know, we get a guy sitting in this class once in a while. We'll get a guy in here. And this is like not a good move, by the way, because it puts our red flag up right away. He says, he's like sitting on the edge of his chair. Everyone, please, no one move right now. Everyone stay exactly how they're sitting. Now, don't move, okay? I'd like you to focus on the guy with the red shoes over here. Just wave your hand, but don't move. See how he's sitting kind of like half in a lounge chair, like he's in Club Med or something? Okay, that's the Jewish position while learning Torah. It's like, don't even bother me, you know, like, it's just like one gigantic grain of sand. Grain of sand? Salt. One gigantic grain of salt with everything the rabbi is about to say. You're also Led Zeppelin over here in the shirt with his arms crossed. No, keep your arms crossed. He's like this. Okay? He's like, yeah, we'll see. This guy right next to him, he's like, that's a real open position you're in over there. Okay? You guys are like, all you're saying right now with your arms crossed while I'm teaching is, I'm Jewish. That's it. You're just saying I'm Jewish, okay? This woman's in yoga position. She's like, okay, Rabbi, I'll listen to you, but don't tell me I can't say Om on the hour, okay? So, Jewish, okay? But once in a while, we get this guy coming in here. He's got his, big kippah on. He's even got the cosmic dental floss. He's swinging that around. And he sits down in here, and he's like, Rabbi, teach me the Torah. We're just immediately goy. Okay? He's a Gentile. Yeah. And so large numbers of people believing in something to us is a red flag. That means something's wrong here. And it's very interesting that our nation, which in the Torah says we will always remain few in number, that we've always remained few in number. And we get nervous around numbers. We see numbers of people into something, we immediately say something's wrong. Because we are born skeptical. We mismatch things we hear. We don't match them, we mismatch them. And that's the way you clarify things and find out if something's real or not. Because we're not interested in something that's not real. Imagine we're on a hike together. I mean, it's kind of a large group for a hike, but imagine we're hiking and we hear some noise inside a cave. So we get down like low and we look inside the hole of the cave and we see down below, we see 9 people all bowing down to this one person in a white robe, and he's just like, I'm the Son of God, And now, would we believe we found a cult or a religion? Which one? Yeah, that's a cult, right? Now, what happens is they move to our town, and we start recognizing people from the cave in town. And next thing you know, they're like inviting everyone for free pizza and beer, which is what most rabbis do on campus. But they're offering free pizza and beer, and they're gaining numbers. Next thing you know, the bank teller, you go to the bank teller, and you see the bank teller is wearing, some little symbol they wear. And anyway, it just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. Well, once they get to enough numbers, it becomes what's called a social economic pressure. There's a social economic pressure because social means like politically and stuff, and economic means like to sell products and stuff. You've got to give them a new name because cult's just not going to go over so well. So what we do is once they hit a critical mass of numbers, it gets this term called a religion. But if you're Jewish, that doesn't mean anything. Because Judaism, we get nervous around numbers, and we like to shrink the numbers down to 10 and instead see what they're saying. So if they're saying something legit, so maybe there's something to it, but if they're making stuff up, so then we're not that interested. And one of the main things that's going to be a red flag is blind faith. Blind faith is a big red flag. Jews aren't into that kind of thing. We're just not into that thing. Like, it's funny, we don't have a term for it. Like, our term for faith is the word emunah. And it doesn't mean faith, it means faithful. It means faithful. We're not into faith. We're into being faithful. You get that? Like when something's real and true to you, like a spouse, you're faithful to that person. When something's real and true to you like God, you're faithful. It means you don't cheat. So that's the word faith for Judaism. It's funny, we actually say the word after Shema at night. We say ve'emunah kol zois, and this is like a faithful reality to all of us. It uses the word emunah. Is there a seat for you back there?
I'm fine.
Oh my gosh. I was just, sorry, you just said the buzzword, I'm fine. I was just with this old, amazing, elderly Jewish lady. We were touring around the building with her, and her terms, she kept saying, I'm fine. Which is amazing, because she had some knee problems. She said, I'm fine about 50 times. Wouldn't you love it if we all said that all the time? I would think about the crazy stuff we say about ourselves inside. How about, I'm fine. I'm okay, I'm fine. That's good. But it could also be like a Jewish trait of like old ladies. Like how many Jewish old ladies does it take to change a light bulb? I'll just stay in the dark.
And then they killed someone else to do it.
I'll just sit here in the dark. So, anyway, back to us is just one more thing. Since I'm on this, I just want to mention that a big red flag for us is the afterlife. Anyone talking afterlife is like, that's a red flag. Okay, why? Because it's manipulation. The number one fear of humanity is death. It's the number one fear. And so if you start stacking the odds of like, believe in this and it'll be good for you, don't believe in this, you're going to hell. You understand that's just manipulation. It's manipulation. And anyway, what good is any of your service if that's why you joined? What good is any of your service? You were put in a police headlock. Of course you're going to cooperate. So what good was anything you did? Is there going to be any reward for your good deeds? If the reason you're in is because you were put in a police headlock with afterlife threats. You come to our classes, like a Jewish class, any institution teaches Judaism, you could be there for years before you hear anything about the afterlife. It's not that we don't believe in an afterlife. For sure, the soul's going to outlive your body. Your soul has nothing to do with your body. Just like your consciousness is not linked to your body. Your consciousness will definitely outlast your body. You know, people die on hospital beds and they bring them back with the PJCs, the people jumper cables. They have whole stories to tell. They're talking about a kid with a broken rib in the postnatal care. You know, the inconsolable baby had a broken rib. And the guy who died in the emergency room, after they bring him back, he says, oh, by the way, there's a baby with a broken rib a couple doors down. And he went and he heard the cries and went and checked it out. So your consciousness is eternal. If anything, the only thing blocking it is your body. Because your neurons are a little busy most of the time, just going like, ding, 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 ding. You know, which they're doing right now as well. And your neurons just never shut up unless you ask them to. And then they're very polite about it. I'll show you, really. You want to try it? Want to get your neurons to shut up? They'll do it. Yeah, I'm serious. Like, it's amazing. Now, the one thing you have to do is, they'll be polite about it. You can't be polite. What you have to do is tell your neurons to shut up. So we're going to say, shut up, neurons, on 3. And then we're all going to snap both fingers. Ready? Everyone get your hands free. Okay, so what's going to happen is I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. And then we're all going to say together, shut up, neurons, but tough. Like, shut up, neurons. And then all those little neurons, which, by the way, your neurons are atheists. Yeah, your neurons are atheists. That's why we put our tefillin. It has to be above the hairline because that's the soft spot on the skull where there's a bit of an aperture there that goes straight to the neurons, and it impresses upon your neurons that there's God, Shema Yisrael, which is written inside those boxes. So your neurons are atheists because all they do is track sound, sight, taste, hearing, smell. Like, that's what their job is. Their job is not God. Their job is just to report to your consciousness. They're reporters. They're just reporters. But what happens is, if you stop realizing that your neurons are reporting to you, they actually hijack you and make you think you're them. I mean, think about it. Who are you? I mean, who have you been if not who your neurons have been telling you are all these years? You ever thought about that question? Who are you? Who have you been as a personality, as a self-image? Who have you been if not who your neurons have been telling you are? Which is a very strange thing, because if you look at a picture of a neuron, it's just a microscopic little doodad. It's certainly not something you would allow. Would you guys let me tell you who you are? Would you do that? No, so certainly not a microscopic doodad telling you who you are. But think, who have you been if not who your neurons have been telling you are? And they're certainly in no position to be telling you who you are. It's just that they notice that you're not paying any attention to them, so they wind up, they say, hey, she's not listening, so let's hijack her. And then next thing you know, you're hijacked by your self-image, which makes you perfect fodder for marketing. Because now that your self-image is, being told to you by your neurons, well, what version of you are your neurons giving you? The most amazing, holy, solid, smart, beautiful, powerful. Is that what your neurons say about you? Probably not. Probably not. It's probably more something like, maybe I shouldn't say, should I say it? Just say it. No, don't say it. Say it. All in favor of say it. Okay. So your neurons are probably saying something more like that you are unlovable, ugly, annoying, stupid, unnecessary, not needed,
Are you referring to
extra.
Are you referring to neurons like the Yetzer Hara?
We never use that term in my class.
What do you call it, neurons?
We're just calling it neurons right
So neurons we're calling us ortho.
now. Ortho, yeah. What else are neurons saying? Oh, misfit, loser. What else neurons say? Misguided ragamuffin. Schlumper. Not good enough. Not good enough. Not as good as, and then you fill in the blank with someone else. Probably a sibling who's older or one of your parents or something. Did we mention ugly? What else do the neurons think? Weak. We have to do all the weak, small, vulnerable, in danger. There's one where I was thinking of weak, small, worthless. Worthless is a good one. Hopeless, helpless, powerless, unsafe. Unsafe. That's always a good one. Unsafe. Did I mention unlovable, unlikable? Yeah. Anyway.
Without merit.
Unworthy. Yeah.
What did you like to use the term?
Which one?
Yes
I'll tell you in a sec. Remind me of that. You two, the two who like the word. No, it's fine. Anyway, but that's what the neurons have been saying. Shkoyach, thank you. That's what the neurons have been saying. So you guys ready to tell the neurons shut up? Okay, here we go. So what we're going to do, I'm going to say 1, 2, don't say it yet. Let me show you how it goes because we got to do it all together. Okay, it's going to shock them. Ready? So we're going to say 1, 2, 3, and then we're all going to say, shut up, neurons, and then we're going to snap. So let me show you once, and then we'll do it together. Okay, so watch. It's going to be like this. Just listen. 1, 2, don't say it. 1, 2, 3. Shut up, neurons. Like that, okay? Okay, ready? And we get your snappers ready. If you don't know how to snap, just clap. Okay, do like a, not that, but like a. Okay, and nice lady, do you mind turning off the air conditioning power? We need it for this exercise. It's got a little power button. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Shut up, neurons. Shh, shh. Nothing. Quiet. Because the one thing your neurons can't do is they don't know how to deal with you looking at them. They only can do their thing when you're not looking. Try it again. It'll be the first silence maybe any of you have ever heard. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Shut up, neurons. Now, who are you? Who are you now? Who are you now? Your neurons said Joker. Don't go with the neurons. Shh. Seriously, that's how fast they are. They don't stay quiet for long. So God created the neurons basically so you could like get up and down a flight of stairs without falling on your face. They're really good for driving. They also help with English. Meaning if there was someone in here from like Zimbabwe who didn't speak English, I think English is the language of Zimbabwe, but if let's just say they're from the jungle of Zimbabwe and they don't speak English, and their neurons would be dancing the same dance to the sounds because it's just math. It's just all vibration. It's just that they wouldn't be able to match the sounds with the language of Zimbabwe. So they would just hear the sounds. They'd hear the brain pattern. If we could put the neurons on a screen, it would do the same thing yours is doing, except yours locks it in with every bit of English you've ever heard. So your neurons are actually what rip you off of the present also, because they're constantly matching to the past. The more you get into what I'm teaching you today, the more you'll get present to your life and how awesome it is, and how awesome you are. Because, I mean, I would not, if I were you, my advice is not to give to your neurons any self-talk. Self-talk should be coming from the soul, not from the neurons. Neurons are not soul. They have nothing to do with your soul. Their job is only to report to you that you're going down a flight of stairs. That's good news. You want that reported to you. But that's their job, nothing else. Your job of your neurons is to remind you sometimes that you haven't called your parents lately. And call them. But their job is not to be telling you who you are. And they're certainly not to be matching everything with the past. I mean, they are for the stairs, but not everything else. And it's amazing we're talking about this right now because Rosh Hashanah, the word Rosh is head, and Shana really means change or year, but it's like God's flipping the head around. He's like changing our heads, changing the headspace. It's a new world, new year. It's a brand new world. Like, why would you ever, what would you allow to dictate your year other than what is just present right now? It's a new world. It's a new year. And listen, your neurons are pretty darn quiet from the looks of your faces. So like, so what's up now? Like, that's why the funny thing is like, it's so easy to jump into eating kosher or keeping Shabbat or anything, because like, why wouldn't I? Like, you know, unless I'm like stuck in some loop. By the way, that's obviously with the Torah verified. I'm not saying someone should do that on faith, as you can imagine. You want some more AC? Yeah, you can turn it back on. You turned it?
Yeah.
You saw it was good, though, for the shut-up neurons, though, right? That's all right. Neurons can shut up with a little noise of a motor that needs maintenance badly. Now, back to us. So religions, Judaism's not a religion. Is that clear? Now, there are a lot of religious Jews. Like, for example, I know a lot of Hasidic Jews who are very religious. Meaning, what am I defining as religious? They don't know that any of it's necessarily true. They were just raised this way. You understand? They were just raised that way. Is that religion or is that Judaism? It's religion. They keeping the traditions? Yeah, and I'm glad. I mean, that we should be faithful to our traditions. I personally think that some guy born in the Amazon jungle or some African jungle or some Sri Lankan jungle should stay true to his ancestry. Like, stick with it. And I believe Jews also should be true to their ancestry. So even a Jew who's religious, with the exception of idolatry, oh, you weren't going to bring up idolatry? Wait, I got to answer their question first. The reason we don't mention Yetzer Hara, just to teach all of you a good tool for growth. You guys into growth? I don't know. You guys like growth stuff? So just a good tool for growth is never use the word Yetzer Hara. Why? You know the term Yetzer Hara? Everyone knows? Oh, it means, Yetzer Hara means the evil inclination. Like there's like the good inclination and the evil inclination. You know those two? Like the one that has you take seconds of something you shouldn't be eating in the first place. That's the evil inclination, because it's going to make you now tired and slothly, and whereas the Yetzer Tov will say, you know what, just hold off. That's the Yetzer Tov. The Yetzer Hara sees a beggar, you know, walking through the Jewish quarter and says, oh man, how can I avoid this? And the Yetzer Tov says, you know, like, this guy's on the streets, like maybe you could spare a shekel. And the Yetzer Hara says, as you dig in your pocket, oh, there's a half shekel. Yeah. And then the Yetzer Tov says, you're a cheapskate. What is that, 10 cents? You wouldn't give a bum a 10 cents in America, you know, like at least give him 50 cents or $1 or something. And then you feel this other one and it's like, oh, that's got the shapes on the side, that's a 5, that's not going out. So like these are the two Yetzers, Yetzer Tov and the Yetzer Hara. Those are the two Yetzers. But we don't say the word Yetzer Hara much because one of its tricks is for you to just use this like all-encompassing Yetzer Hara. It's like this blanket statement. Oh, it must have been the Yetzer Hara. It likes it when you say that. You know why? Because then it's just like, okay, as long as they're... because the Yetzer Hara doesn't do general; it only does specifics. And so, if you're going to stay general with the term with Yetzer Hara, it's going to be really happy with you, because it's just going to nail you somewhere else. So, what's important with Yetzer Hara is you specify what Yetzer Hara we're talking about. Is that clear? You want to be really specific with the Yetzer Hara. Don't use, in fact, don't even let it leave your lips much. Rather, the second you're going to say Yetzer Hara, stop yourself for a second and say, which Yetzer Hara? You know, is this the cheapskate in me? Is this my neurons telling me I'm ugly? Is this my, my social anxiety Yetzer Hara? Which Yetzer Hara is this? Is this my Yetzer Hara to be, to steal? Is it my Yetzer Hara to eat? But you might say it's my Yetzer Hara to eat whatever I want. Like, for example, non-kosher food. Like, I want to eat whatever I want. But then that's a different Yetzer Hara. You know what Yetzer Hara that is? It's a Yetzer Hara of that you're out of control. Meaning that you're a controlled being. Which probably comes from childhood because someone controlled you. And so now you refuse to keep kosher. Because no one's dictating what you put in your mouth. But if you go deeper, instead of just saying it's a Yetzer Hara, but go deeper and say, no, actually I was controlled at either there was, God forbid, a terrible situation, like a molestation or something, or it was a family dynamic where the parents didn't allow you to make any choices, or who knows what, an education system that was very controlling. But just to give that platitude of Yetzer Hara is going to give the Yetzer Hara a major victory with you. You have to, you understand, you got to get in there. You got to say, what is it? What's going on inside there? What's really happening here? And then you got it GPS. And once you've GPSed it, now I can say, is me eating less or eating kosher me surrendering to being controlled? No, that's ridiculous. It's me being healthy and me being spiritually aligned. That's called spiritual alignment and healthy body. So what kind of games was I playing, with myself? Clear? That was that answer. And then Elimer, you had a question?
Yeah. You were saying that the main difference between Judaism, that it's not a religion, is that we can prove that we've had a national revelation.
We can verify our tradition. It's verifiable.
If it's so easily verifiable.
It's not easily verified. It's verifiable.
So what do you think? You're saying it's more likely true than not?
It's beyond a shadow of a doubt. But there's got to be some aspect of doubt, I guess, in life at some point. It's really hard if you're a Nation Torah rabbi to have much doubt because we spend so much time with you guys. And we get to get to hit why we do what we do at every single angle, all year round. So we don't get a lot of room for doubt, but I'm sure there's plenty of people who I would call fully observant, not religious, fully observant, who still have some doubt. That's okay. I personally think having doubt's really hard, especially when you're staring at the Temple Mount, and we have coins with King David's name on it, and we know he lived only a couple hundred years after Sinai. So and he certainly didn't make up Judaism. So where'd it come from? If not where it says it came from. He was keeping Torah, and not only he was keeping Torah, the entire nation was keeping Torah. All the tribes were in their locations. We have all this archaeologically. Meaning you meet these guys who have a Yetzer Hara to say, just kidding. They have a Yetzer Hara to say that, maybe people made it up. It's been a couple thousand years, 3,000, how many? 3,330 years now? But it's not like that, because all you have to do is stare out this window, Exhibit A. Well, sorry. I had a guy at the Kotel say to me, he says to me, we were down at the Kotel, literally staring at Solomon's temple, We're staring at this thing. And he says to me, I don't know what he was thinking, but he was like, how do we know this is even true? And so I slapped him. Normally I don't slap people. I think voicing doubt is it's so Jewish, as I've already spoken. Voicing doubt is it's really, in a way, it's the key to Judaism. Is you want to voice doubt. Voice it though. Don't just hide it, with your cheeseburger. You got doubt, voice it. And I just slapped him because it just seemed like the right thing to do at the time. We're staring at this like gigantic thing that's like, had we had that conversation in LA, I'd say like, I would say to him, I wish we were having this conversation staring at David and Solomon's temple in Jerusalem. Like you just wouldn't be asking me that. But another thing is like, we got proofs that get into like the nitty gritty of how we know this is real, like really nitty gritty. And I'll tell you one of the funniest ones is, here I have a Torah right here. Right, we got a Torah. So you would think like it would be easy to figure out who like whether. I mean, let's just say you had any book. Anyone got another random book? Give me that book for a second. You mind? So here's a book called Jewish Meditation. I'm covering the author's name, okay? It's called Jewish Meditation. And now, let's say no one heard, I mean, I know who wrote the book because I know who wrote Jewish Meditation, but let's just say none of us knew who wrote this book. Let's say no one in the country knew who wrote this book. Do you think we could figure out who wrote the book? Without Google, without Amazon, without anything. You think we could figure it out?
Yeah.
Exactly who wrote this book. Would that be a complicated thing for the Mossad? Not at all. Would it be complicated at all for people whose specialty is identifying documents, identifying the authorship of documents? You think that'd be difficult? It'd be beyond easy. Beyond easy. Now listen to this crazy. This is a crazy thought. Ellie Mary, before you go, just got to hear this crazy thought. Here's a Torah, okay? This is the Torah. We're trying to figure out if man wrote it or God wrote it. Is that the most ridiculous question in the world? Whether man wrote it or God? Like we could figure out that book, not only that book, no title on the book. We could just take a page, rip a page out of a book, and take it to any professional identifier of authorship. He would probably be able to figure it out. It might take him longer, but he could probably figure it out. Eventually get it. Or within 100 people on the planet. 50 people on the planet. But here, we got this book. And we're trying to figure out if it's from God or man. You ever thought how ridiculous that is?
That's so ridiculous.
Yeah, so you didn't figure that out. Am I the only one who realizes this? Does anyone know where I'm going with this?
Is it, if we can prove that it wasn't written by man, is that proof that it's by God?
I'm the only, no one got that?
It's a poor proof because Christian.
No, I'm not even. No one even got the proof. Did you get the proof? We're not even. First of all, I was not giving a proof. I was asking a question. Does anyone realize how ridiculous that question is? Whether man or God wrote? Not. I don't mean like that. This is so funny that I'm in this situation, but I'm gonna dig myself out. Don't worry. I think there's something that authorship's not complicated to figure out. If it was a human being, it should be pretty easy. If it were God, it should be pretty easy. Not that we know what God does when he authors books, but meaning we wouldn't have a lot of samples of that, but we would have definite samples of human writing. So it shouldn't be difficult to figure out if this is human or God. You get that? You get the ridiculousness of the question? Because it just should be so simple. Like it can't be complicated whether it's God or human. That's the point I'm making. You got that point? Is that point clear?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it is clear. I'm just saying it shouldn't be a question that's complicated. That's all. You everyone got that? I'm not saying it's clear whether it's God or man. I'm saying it should be the most ridiculous question in the world of trying to figure out whether the authorship's the divine or the authorship's a human being. That should not be a complicated question. That should be like for an authorship professional, that would be the silliest question in the world. And what do you think he would say, God or man? What would it depend on? What would it depend on? You realize there would be some factors, whether he would say it's God or man. What would be some of the factors? I'm going to leave this up to you guys. You can go. What would be some of the factors?
What's inside the book?
Okay, what's inside the book? Some of its content. Yeah.
It really depends on if he's like a believer or not.
Yeah, what if the guy's an atheist? Who is it automatically?
Man.
It's automatically man. If he's agnostic, so you start to realize, like, discovering the authorship of this book is not so scientific. It's going to depend on things. How about this? The book, when you, like, distill all its commandments, how many commandments? 613, and when you distill them into their laws, because not one commandment tells the law. You realize that? Like, when I put on tefillin, the law isn't put on tefillin. That's the commandment. The laws are, I think it's like 700 or 800 laws. You understand? It's not a law to keep Shabbos. That's one of the commandments, some spiritual pipe called Shabbos. The laws are, it's a couple thousand. I think it's like 4,500, 5,000 laws. How to actually keep the laws of Shabbos. So we actually counted all the laws of the book. Leave it to Eshator to count the laws. We actually counted all the laws. You know how many laws there are in this book? Meaning the book itself doesn't give any. It gives broad stroke commandments. Like, for example, tzitzis. I'm wearing tzitzis. Nowhere in the Torah does it explain this. It just says fringes. Well, fringes doesn't tell me 8 strings, 5 knots, 4-cornered garments. Well, actually, it does mention 4-cornered garments. That part it mentions. No, but what if you're not wearing a 4-cornered garment? Are you wearing a 4-cornered garment?
Yeah.
Oh, you got tzitzis?
Yeah.
Okay. You wearing a 4-cornered garment? He's not. So you have no mitzvah right now. Okay? If you're wearing a 4-cornered garment, I always feel bad for Jews in ponchos. Because it's a 4-cornered garment. I'm the spiritual leader of a rock band in America, and they go in ponchos in the winter, and they all have tzitzis on their ponchos, which is really sweet. And they just go like chilled in ponchos everywhere, like they show up to gigs in ponchos, and they'll have tzitzis on their ponchos. So there's 55,000 laws in here. Who wrote it, God or man? Who wrote it, God or man? 55,000 laws. The answer is, if I want to keep 55,000 laws, which means I'm crazy, so then God wrote it. And if I'm not interested in keeping 55,000 laws, so I'm going to be leaning way more towards the man wrote it. In other words, it's really hard to be scientific about this. So hard that people can't even figure out an authorship between God and man. That's crazy. Do we get it now? Do we get why I'm talking about this? Am I still? Raise your hand if you know where I went with all that. Oh man, I'm never doing that again.
Isn't that a very backwards way of going about it, though? I mean, who really does that? Says, I want to follow 55,000 laws and so I'll believe in God. I don't want to follow 55,000 and so I won't. As opposed to, there is a God, there isn't a God, and based on that, I'll do the laws or I won't.
Yeah, all I was doing was bringing up the insane amount of subjectivity involved. That's all. I was just bringing up that it's like extremely subjective. This God or man thing, but what happens is we have a program called Discovery. Aaron, you know when our next Discovery is?
No idea.
Anyway, we have a program.
Someday.
What? Whoa, that's a while.
Good job.
So on the 14th of October, we have a program called Discovery. So I teach the final class on Discovery, which is all about like the proof. It's about proving, Torah's divine origin. But what happens when you get to the end of that class, you're just like, your jaw's on the ground. You're just like, oh my gosh. Not only is Torah divine, like it automatically means there's a God, because I didn't even know there was a God. So many people actually get Torah and then realize, wait a second, that couldn't have been written by a human being, so it must be, there's a God. And so they get God and Torah all in one shot. Now their jaws are on the ground now. And then I asked them the question, like, do you guys realize how ridiculous it is that we had to even spend an entire day on this? As if this document could be actually authenticated as a human being's writing? That's the most ridiculous thing. And they're all looking at me like, you're right, that is totally crazy. What are we doing here? And the answer is you say it, we say it. The answer is, it's the Yetzer Hara. No one wants to keep 55,000 laws. And by the way, after all the proofs, Just you guys tell me, what do you think of the percentage of people who walk out of Discovery keeping Torah? People who didn't keep it before. What do you think the percentage? What would you say? We had 100 people in Discovery. What percentage leave there keeping Torah, let's say, over the next 5 years? 75%, 10, whoa, big numbers. What do you say? After 2%, like 5 years later. We both teach there. What's your estimation?
Let's think about it. Not high.
Under 10, above 10?
It's a percent?
Yeah, after 5 years, the people who graduate, the
5%.
5%. So I would have given it between 3 and 5%. And these are people who, when they walk out of the room, you could literally say to them, "Who wrote the Torah?" And they would say, "Well, it wasn't a human being, that much I'll tell you. And it's likely written by God." And then you'd say to them, "Is that a belief or knowledge?" And they would tell you, "It's 100% knowledge, 100% knowledge." But I would not ask them the third question, and that's, "What are you going to do about it?" Because the answer is nothing. And so, since we're teaching this on the Erev Yom Kippur, let's do something about it. What you gonna do about it? See y'all later. Ladies and gentlemen, the next class is Rabbi Aaron Neckemeyer. Rabbi Aaron Neckemeyer is one of the most Orthodox Jews.
That's a terrible.
He's one of the most unorthodox Orthodox Jews you ever meet.
He didn't mean that.
But we don't use the term Orthodox. Anyway, Rabbi Neckemeyer is the totally out-of-the-box rabbi, and he does a class called 7 Questions, where you get to ask the most taboo questions, like anything. I mean, like transgender questions, like it could be anything. I mean, there's anything you want to ask, you get to ask. And
No guarantee you like the answer.
not only that, but anyone who stays in his class will usually come back again. So, because it's just compelling. And he's considered one of the unique teachers in Israel. So I bless you all to join that class. But in the meantime, I'm also blessing you with a good Shabbos. There's just one last thing, is if we could pass around a cup. And there's a rabbi that comes who feeds a family every Shabbat. And the Thursday class feeds the family. So if it's changed, it'll buy like drinks. And if it folds, it'll buy like fish or meat. So I know the family personally. They're an amazing family. It's quite large, and they've hit some bad times. So if you guys would like to help feed a family, you mind grabbing a cup, and we'll just send around a cup, please.
Who's gonna write?
What's that? Oh, thank you. Thanks for that hug, Shimon.
Okay, for those of you